Good evening. It's 6 p.m. and we're going to go ahead and start tonight's Planning Commission. At this time, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Welcome to tonight's City of Independence Planning Commission for Tuesday, February the 24th. For those who wish to speak tonight, please remember to address all comments and questions to the chair and keep your comments brief and on point. If you agree with a previous comment, simply indicate your agreement and move on. In order for us to expedite tonight's meeting, I'm going to ask at this time that anyone who thinks they will testify, believes they might want to speak, to go ahead and please stand. If you think you're going to speak tonight, please stand. All right. Do you solemnly swear? Do what?
Please stand up there.
Oh, yes. Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth before this commission tonight? If so, raise your right hand and say, I do. Okay, thank you very much. All right, let's have a roll call.
Commissioner Nesbitt.
Here.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Here.
Commissioner Ashbaugh.
Present.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Present.
Commissioner Torres.
Present.
Chairman Wiley.
Present. All right. Has anyone had a chance to look at the consent agenda?
Chair, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
All right, great. I have
I
a first,
second.
and I have a second from Commissioner Ferguson. Any questions about it? Discussion? All right, I will call for the vote.
Commissioner Nesbitt.
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Yes.
Commissioner Ashbaugh.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Yes.
Commissioner Torres.
Yes.
Chairman Wiley.
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. All right, our first agenda item tonight is the public hearing for case number 2610002, rezoning. Staff, love to have your report.
This is a rezoning initiated by the city, a request by the city to rezone. Oh, there we go. Here's the vicinity map for the city of Independence. This is a request for a rezoning of a portion of or city-owned properties that lie just east of the square, adjacent to the square here, including City Hall where we're now sitting. Properties from C2 General Commercial, and then some farther east from I-1 Industrial to the new HSQ Historic Square zoning. So this is the notification area map of the areas of 185 feet within the perimeter of the properties in question. You can see the parking lot on Lynn Street and the main city buildings here in this vicinity, the police station, City Hall, and plus the Sermon Center and adjacent properties further to the east. So this area is largely on this side of Nolan Road, is a zone C2, and then there are portions by the Sermon Center, which is zoned industrial. properties to the northeast of this area have residential uses and residential zonings. We have commercial zonings immediately to the north across Truman Road. Of course, the square commercial areas to the west are Zone C2 as well as actually some homes to the south of us along Kansas Avenue are also zoned C2. And then we have a lot of residential that lies to the southeast of the railroad spur, adjacent to this area of the rezoning as well. So the comprehensive plan envisions the square area around here, including the sermon center as well across Nolan Road, as being mixed use. The Imagine Independence 2040 plan, its tools and policies portion envisions this area to be encouraged for mixed-use development and self-sufficient neighborhoods, which pretty much reflects what actually is the use here, with residential to the south and more commercial here on the main part of the square area. The lots are portions of plats for the Independence Old Town, which was platted in 1827, as well as portions of the Waldo subdivision, which was platted in 1859 and 1866, and the Waldo and Norris plats that were done in 1858. So in 1965, of course, is when the city got its zoning. The area around the railroad spur was zoned M1, as well as on this side of what is now Nolan Road. The only portions that were actually C2 were some little bits of parking lot at the time. Then in 1980, when we did the mass rezoning, city initiated across the city, we basically made everything that was on the west side of Nolan Road C2, and M1 remained east of Nolan. In 2009, when the UDO, of course, was adopted, we relabeled M1 to I1. So the city seeks to rezone the tracks to what is now the new historic square zoning that was established by the city a few months ago in a change to the city code. So it will better perform with the reshaping the square plan that has been implemented by the city and is consistent with the character, as I said, of this area. So the physical characteristics of this area, the properties included basically are where we are, right here, City Hall, the adjacent parking lots, the parking lot south of Lexington that's along Lynn, the property where the police station is and where the police cars are parked, with the exclusion of the church that's located here on the corner. And then across Nolan Road, the Sermon Center, and the properties adjacent to the Sermon Center to the east, running down Truman for about a block. So, again, the characteristics of this area, we've got residential more flanking areas on the east, and also the south, and south of Lexington, along Lexington. And then, of course, the main part of the square here being commercial in nature, buildings, zero lot lines up to the sidewalk, that kind of thing. So, Reshaping the Square. The Reshaping the Square master plan envisions a long-term revitalization of the historic downtown Independence centered around the Truman Courthouse and the surrounding National Landmark District. The study area spans from Pleasant Street on the west all the way to Walnut on the south, and Truman Road on the north, and of course the tracks, and Nolan Road on the east. The district that we are, the city's requesting the area be rezoned to, this historic square district. The Reshaping the Square plan calls for the establishment of this downtown district that creates a set of development and redevelopment standards designed to closely align with the objectives that are outlined in that plan. So the district basically establishes distinct sub-districts, and the core of the downtown area is the historic square. The area of our rezoning, the city-owned properties on the east, would all be part of that transition zone, which is a more flexible area that will accommodate a broader range of uses. And then we do have some downtown neighborhood area along Lexington and other places that could not only have the current older single-family homes that we have, but other compact townhome and other types of housing types as well. So this is that master plan that was recently approved by the city, and we're in the eastern section of that, east of the square. And here are those sub-districts. So the blue areas are, I guess that's green, teal, teal colored areas, is the transition zone, and that's what most of the area of the rezoning occupies. The recommendation of staff. Well, staff recommends approval of this rezoning, and I'm ready to take any questions you may have.
All right. Brian, can you go over one more time what we're adding building-wise that are just familiar as landmarks, so we know police, city hall?
So it would be starting on over here at Lynn. We're talking about the parking lot around the Napa building,
Okay.
if you know where that is, excluding that little white building that's on the corner of Lynn and Maple. And then, of course, all the parking lot for this building on the north. This building itself, it's southeast parking lot. And then south of Lexington, that lot that's on the east side of Lynn going all the way down to Kansas. Those concrete lots down there. That's part of it. And then it would be all the property that the police station occupies, the police car storage occupies, excluding the church here on the corner. And then the Sermon property east of Nolan Road, and 3 or 4 vacant parcels along Truman, just east of the Sermon Center and its adjacent parking lots.
Okay, so you said it again, so now I'm going to question why the church is not included.
Well, we're just rezoning properties that are actually city-owned properties. So
Okay.
we're the only applicant. So that's why it's excluded.
Okay. If it's called a historic square, how does that affect the church? Or does it in any way?
I mean, the plan, of course, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure I can answer exactly about the plan as far as any preservation or anything about the exterior of the church or anything. But as far as the zoning portion goes, I mean, first of all, a church use could be zoned resident or a number of different zonings anyway. But the hope is that the whole area, as different private users do their construction or whatever, then we will encourage the rezoning of these individual pieces of property by these private property owners to HSQ, just like the city's doing in this first step.
So the rezoning, so since churches are allowed in almost any zoning, or they are allowed in any zoning, then it's really not affected
it's not
from
as
that perspective.
relevant.
Okay.
The big positive about this zoning as opposed to the previous C2 is the setbacks that
Okay.
that we aren't held to those 15-foot setbacks that are required in C2 right now that make basically everything that's on the square legal non-conforming, and pretty much every building around us in legal non-conforming right now, and this is a fix for that. So
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. All right, commissioners?
Chair,
All right, Commissioner Nesbitt?
so we're saying the parking lots on land in Kansas, the city owns those two parking lots?
which lot are you talking
The
about?
parking lots there off of Lynn, on Lynn Street?
Yes.
Between Lexington, okay. Then the line kind of, why is it going through the middle of that building? Or did you say that building's not included, or is it included on Lynn in between Lexington and Truman? You might be calling it the Napa building, I don't know.
Are you talking about Maple? Okay. Yeah, there's that little white building is not city-owned property. That's right at the corner of Lynn and Maple.
So are we saying our line is not drawn correctly up there on the map? Or what I'm looking at on my map? Because it looks like it goes through the middle of the building to me.
Okay. I mean, the aerial imagery we hear is from the county, so.
Okay. So we're saying the parking lot on the back side is owned by the city because that's where we park cars, but the building is not, correct?
Well, I think it's excluded. If you look, I mean, that's a very narrow building, and you notice how it is a little bit farther in than the parking lot that's up there on Truman. So it actually is excluded.
Okay, so it is excluded, okay. I was just trying to figure out why would we exclude that? I mean, did you guys not ask the owners, or, I mean, just because it's all city? I mean, that's the same thing, it's the same thing as the church.
Our request was just our properties.
Okay, then what I'm gonna have a problem with, if we go ahead with this HSQ, is it gonna give them like eminent domain to go in and take some property to bring that property in with it, or is it?
No.
Legal
I mean,
standard?
they may want to, if they want to rebuild at some point, let's say they have that little property on the corner, comes in with a building permit, and the value of the property, exceeds, or the value of the construction exceeds the value of the property,
Right,
and they have to meet code. Well, now they can do that because we have the zoning that has the zero lot line
okay,
and they can get rid of their C2.
okay. So the city is bringing this forward to help rezone all this property, even though some of it's still not gonna be HSQ around the areas that they're still trying to incorporate into the historic square, correct?
Right. I mean, the idea is the whole square will be HSQ, around the build, around the courthouse. Around the old courthouse would eventually be
So the other picture
that zoning.
The other picture you show with the teal, none of that is HSQ right now at all, right?
None of the zoning has been acted yet. We're the first
We're the first to do the
first
HSQ.
properties that will have this new zoning designation.
Okay, so none of the other properties have this yet.
No,
Does it give, well, I guess you probably don't know, does it give special tax incentives then at the HSQ, do we know?
no,
Zoning?
no. I mean, this is just the zoning classification that accompanies, that's in line with the plan
Okay,
that has been passed.
okay, so it looks like to me what we're trying to exclude is warehouses, wholesale. Is that why we're trying to take it from the C2 to this HSQ, to exclude that type of?
Yeah, the reason why it was I-1 to begin with, 2 to 3 decades ago, the sermon, before the sermon center was redeveloped, it was an industrial use.
Right.
It was along the railroad track, and that's why that existed.
Okay, well, what I'm trying to get to, because we're going from, the other one's from C2, so we're trying to get rid of auto repairs. I mean, I guess, would restaurants still follow on? It says nightclubs and bars and restaurants, okay. Let's just try and figure out why, it's just you're saying it's better for them because they don't have to meet the 15 feet boundaries, what you're saying,
We're doing it mainly for the setback reasons.
setback.
But I mean, it's largely similar to the C2, mostly similar to the C2.
But it's a
So it's
setback.
a-
It's basically the setback, the 15-foot setback, because right now, most of them are built, 8 feet from the street?
Right, and it's, of course, west of Lynn, every building is legal nonconforming because they're all on the sidewalk,
Right.
and that's why they would have the incentive to do something about that later on.
So the HSQ still lets them be able to build on that 8 foot or 4 foot away from the property line, the street?
Right.
So
It lets, they don't have to gain kind of variance, in other words. I mean, they will have the zoning in place that lets them build or rebuild in the manner that the building's set on the square right now.
So that's why it's better that we go with the HSQ. That's why we're
Yes.
trying to figure out why this is better for people and try to explain to people why this is better for if they want to rebuild, they don't have to have that variance. That's what we're trying to get to, right?
That's what we're trying to get to across the whole square.
Okay.
At some point.
Well, that answers my question. That might help people out in the public also wonder why we're doing this. This is the reason why.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner O'Neill?
No, he asked the questions that I was interested in.
Okay.
so-
Any other commissioners? Right, I guess the applicant is the city. So, any additional information we need to know, city?
I think we've covered everything.
Okay. At this point, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of this case? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition of this case? If you'd like to speak, you stand. Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay, I can't hear you. No, hold on for a moment. Do you want to speak about this case? Okay, go ahead and stand up and come up to the mic. I need you to introduce your name and your home address.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Vice Chair and Commissioners. My name is Nina Falls, and I've lived here 30 plus years, and I go to St. Paul AME Church. And my address is 18955 East Geronimo Court, Independence.
All right, what would you like us to know?
Just probably for my clarification too. So in the rezoning, the way I understand it, it's usually city property is what's in the rezoning. This gentleman was very gracious to be able to kind of explain that before we started. And it's a reshaping of the square. So being a person that is in this community, and I love it just like it is, but I know changes are coming. I wanted to know two things. So a church is private property, the way I understand it, just making sure. So this doesn't affect any church that's in that area. Am I correct?
I'm going to let the city answer your questions.
Okay.
What's your second question?
And another one is Hiram Young Park seems to be in this section. I believe in green space. I think it's always an asset. And so I would like to always know that's a secure place that will always be there because it's beautiful when you go down Nolan Road. And it's just a nice, peaceful place to meditate and be in the city. So I would like to know if that's going to change because I would be against that. And I'm thinking that is, and also if anything was to change, everyone would come back to this table and start all over, or is this like written in stone already?
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Good questions.
Thank you.
I will let the city address those.
Okay, I'll start with the last part first about the park.
Yes.
So our master plan, of course, as you can see from the drawing here, calls for that to remain. Of course, city property, so the city would have to make a decision if they ever in the future wanted to use that property for something else. There's no plans to eliminate the park, and of course, our plan here shows improvements, landscaping to the park. Yes, a church, just like any other private property, could request a rezoning in the future at some point if it was in their interest, and it would be in their interests probably if they had a major construction project at some point that would push them to the point where they would need to deal with some nonconformities. And the nice thing about the HSQ is that it eliminates a number of those legal nonconformities that are here now. And so that there would be no rezoning to their property unless they were the applicant to request it.
Okay. All right. Ma'am, did that answer your questions?
Yes, a lot of you that I was.
Have to be on the mic if you respond.
Yes, that does answer a lot of the questions that, naturally people will be worried about. It sounds as if churches are almost sort of like private properties that will never be eminent domain. Is that what we were saying? Unless we decided we need rezoning ourselves. Is that the way I understand it?
There's no, this is just about enacting rezoning or zonings that are within this envisioned master plan. There's no plans for taking anyone's property or for any kind of eminent domain. That is not part of this discussion. But it's the purpose of this new zoning district is just to give the flexibility so that things that happen on the square can be continued to be built in a way within their historic context that they have been in the past. Our current zoning is more, the C2 zoning, for instance, is more conducive to like Nolan Road and your major commercial strip corridors, and really is not conducive to a downtown area. So this is a zoning that fits the nature of what the square is.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any additional comments?
No, it's just I love living here. We are the center of the universe, and I don't want it to change too much because that's the character of Independence is important to me and I think many others. So I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else present who would like to speak in opposition or has a comment? Okay, do you want to speak? Okay, I'll go ahead and have you raise your hand. Before you speak, just do you promise solemnly swear to tell the truth to the best of your ability to this commission tonight? If so, say I do.
I do.
All right, go ahead and state your name and your address first.
My name is Alversia Brown Pettigrew. My address is 811 North Delaware. I've lived in Independence 81 years. When you're talking about eminent domain, I've experienced that growing up in the Neck. I know some of you may know, I wrote a book about memories of a Neck child. Another lady here, Nancy Harris, and I grew up in that neighborhood that is now the McCoy Park. And because of the Truman Library, you know, we had to move out of there to make room for McCoy Park in the mid-50s. When we first built our church across the street, I mean, it's been there when Nolan Road, Memorial Drive was called Nolan Road, and it was a 2-lane road in front of us that went straight across. Our address changed from 100 North Nolan to 200 East Lexington. And I know you're saying that the church will not be included in this. I want to speak for the park that's across the street. Mrs. Harris and her group, the Concerned Citizens, were very instrumental in getting that park across the street with the wagon wheel and the block named, just that block, Hiram Young. Hiram Young was a great pioneer and one of the richest men in Jackson County here. So I think the recognition for him across the street would be a disservice to the historic square. By the way, our church is named Historic St. Paul African Methodist Episcopal Church. One of the founders of our church was Hiram Young, who also appropriated the funds for the school, which Commissioner O'Neill is quite familiar with, Young School. So this whole area is kind of a historic area. Emily Fisher was one that had a hotel on the historic Independence Square, a black lady. I'm concerned that maybe if the church is not going to be involved, if that historic part, the park, Mrs. Falls said something about she likes the green area. I like the green area also, as well as I'm sure a lot of residents of Independence. But that park speaks a lot to the historic square. So I question if that's going to be rezoned. And the wagon wheel of Hiram Young, the great wagon maker, if all of that's going to be rezoned. I'd hate to see that happen because like you say, black history is American history. And it's a black man that has really made his mark both to the church and to the school in Independence. And I hope those historic landmarks can remain.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Any other comments before Okay. Anyone else in the gallery like to speak in opposition or have a comment? Anyone who'd like to speak in favor of the case? Okay. Not seeing any. Commissioners, anything else? I'm going to go ahead and close this public hearing. So, Brian, I don't want to put you on the spot any more than we have. Can you, Hiram Young is owned by who? The park?
My understanding is it is a city-owned park. As far as I know, it's city-owned property, and it is not intended to be included. It's not included in the legal description for this rezoning. That we're not going to rezone the park. It's not necessary to rezone the park. The master plan calls for the park to be preserved. I don't know about the details of the plantings on here and the landscaping, whether it's what's there, a reiteration of what there is there now, or whether additional landscaping is intended. But the intention is to keep this as a landscaped area, a green space for the perimeter of the square area. There's no, this rezoning is just about rezoning city properties that we own. So there's nothing about taking properties. There's not any kind of eminent domain envisioned. There's not, or any kind of forced rezoning on other actors besides the city itself. So, again, the intention of this request is just to rezone these city properties so they better can adhere to, as they change and evolve, stick with the historic pattern of the square and allow for that to occur.
Okay, thank you very much. There was one other question that I don't know that we addressed, and that is to change the zoning today, or recommend that it change to the historic square. Somebody asked, is that it? So what would be an occasion that would require something to come back to the zoning in regards to the square area?
Someone could, around the courthouse, possibly at some point in the future, propose a redevelopment of a lot, fixing up an existing structure and getting it out, or putting a new one up. But the way our code exists now as C2, it sort of doesn't allow the square to be rebuilt as it currently exists. Our current zoning sort of imposes like a Nolan Road type standard on our square. And the purpose of this rezoning, or the creation of this district that could be used by other lots like we are now in the future, is a way that people could develop and redevelop properties and preserve properties in a manner that is consistent with how the square has historically been.
Okay. I think that's the best clarification that we've needed to kind of make sure it's in the minutes there. So thank you very much for saying that again and kind of expanding on it. Commissioners, any additional questions for staff?
Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
the way I see it, it's like what they're trying to do is that if, say, something happened to the square, something burnt down there and took half the square out, they couldn't rebuild it like it is without
Correct.
rezoning it. So that's the biggest thing why they're trying to do this. So, Chair, I make a motion we approve case 26-100-02, rezoning city-owned properties located near Truman and Nolan, Lexington and Memorial, and Lexington and Lynn.
All right, I have a first,
Second.
and I have a second. Thank you, Commissioner Torres. Any final discussion? All right, I'm going to call for the vote.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ashbaugh,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres,
Yes.
Chairman Wiley.
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0 for case number 26-100-02 of rezoning, creating the historic HSQ. All right, we will now move on to short-term rental cases. I have case number 26-400-01, short-term rental on East 47 Terrace.
This is a request by the applicant Adam Austin for a short-term rental at 12115 East 47 Terrace South. As you can see from this vicinity map, it's in that far southeastern or southwestern peninsula of the city. They're near Norfleet and the 47th Street area. So you can see from the notification map, it's just up the street from Chrysler. And you can see all the surrounding single-family residential lots. They're within 185 feet in that notification zone. And like I just said, the zoning around there is single-family residential, and that's the use and the zoning of all the surrounding properties in the area. As far as the property characteristics go, this is lot 103 of the Blue View addition. It's a lot that's 13,068 square feet in area. The dwelling was constructed in 1963. It contains a house that has 950 square feet of living area. It consists of a main story and a garage and a basement. As far as the characteristics of the area, again, it's actually, I said Phelps Road, that should say Norfleet probably. But it's 2 blocks southwest of the intersection of 47th Street and the Norfleet area. The neighborhood consists of residences. Like I said, they were similar age and character and design. They are mostly small ranch houses on large lots. Like I said, it's 13,000 square feet. Built in the 1950s and the 1960s. As far as the property history, it was annexed in the city in 1956. It was platted, though, even though the house was built in 1963. It was platted in 1955. County records indicate that the applicant attained ownership of the property in last year, around June 4th. The parking has a single-car driveway with a single-car garage providing parking for 3 vehicles. A street parking is available in front of the residence. As far as their security plans as far as what to do with unruly guests and security, the applicant will use an APP entitled Minute Noise Monitoring System. The applicant will post quiet hours and penalties for violating the city's noise ordinance as well. So as far as the short-term rental requirements, something to point out, I mentioned the minute noise monitoring. They will be using Ted's trash service. on a weekly basis on Mondays. Property will be listed on 3 platforms, the Airbnb, the VRBO, and Booking.com. So this is a picture of the main level floor plan. You can see bedrooms there. And then the basement floor plan with the bedrooms below, and there is a fire-rated window exit as well off that lower bedroom. Then evacuation plan, which is missing off of here. But here's how to leave from the basement area. As far as the nearest short-term rentals, let's see, there's one to the south, just south of 49th Terrace, but well outside of the 500 feet that is required. Some of these pictures somehow have disappeared. I apologize for that. So this is eastward up the street and westward down the street. And as far as the staff recommendation goes, a couple of things I need to highlight. Maximum occupancy of the premises would be limited to 6 adults, given it has 3 bedrooms. So, staff recommends approval of the short-term rental with those 7 conditions that are on the board there.
All right, thank you very much. So Brian, I'm assuming that our cases tonight have not been operating without the proper approval before tonight.
They had quit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, commissioners, any questions for staff? All right, I'd like to invite the applicant to go ahead and come up then. Sir, were you sworn in?
Earlier, like at first, yes.
Okay. All right. No. You came in late, so you didn't.
No, I was here at the very beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
You stood?
Yeah, everybody did the Pledge of Allegiance or whatever. Yeah.
Not to pledge allegiance, it was a swearing in to speak.
Oh, well, no.
Okay. I just need you to raise your right hand. And do you solemnly swear to tell the truth to the best of your ability to this planning commission? If so, say I do.
I do.
All right. Now go ahead. Share your name and your address, please, first.
My name is Adam Austin, and my address is the address in question, 12115 East 47 Terrace South.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you want us to know about your short-term rental?
This is my second one. I came before you last year. There's one, and did the one off of Circle Drive. So that was probably about a year and a half ago now. So, yeah.
All right. How's that going?
It's going good. It's a lot more work than I first anticipated it being, but it's going well overall.
All right. So I noticed your address is adjacent to this
No, we
property?
live there. We live there now.
Oh, you live there
Yeah,
now?
we're currently
Okay.
trying to find a new place to live.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So you will not start until you're no longer living there.
Unless they want us to come sleep in my bedroom, no.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Good to know. Anything else you can think of we should know?
No, I don't know.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We'll call you back
Chair,
up if we need.
Chair.
Oh, yes.
As he, make sure he knows it's only 6 people, not 8?
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah, 6
Because you
people.
put on your application 8, but it can only
Okay.
be 6.
That's fine.
Okay.
Less people is actually easier, so.
And I will just remind you, it's up to a maximum of 10, including children, correct? Yeah. All right. All right, we'll call you back if we need to.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone present who'd like to speak in opposition of this case? Anyone present that'd like to speak in opposition? Okay, seeing none. Is there anyone who'd like to speak for this case? Anyone who'd like to speak for this case? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Before I close it, anything else for staff? All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner O'Neill.
I move that we approve case number 26400-01, a short-term rental at 12115 East 47th Terrace South.
Okay, I have a first and a second from Commissioner Ashfall. All right, I will call for the vote.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ashbaugh,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres,
Yes.
and Chairman Wiley.
Yes. And the case passes 6-0 for case number 26400-01, short-term rental at 12115 East 47th Terrace South. All right, we are on for our next case. Also a short-term rental, case number 25400-07, short-term rental on West Waldo.
Alrighty. Yes, this is an application for short-term rental approval of a property located at 1425 West Waldo Avenue. That's a property just north of Truman Road. Let's see here. Notification area map of the subject site as required by city code shows that property on the east side of Forest Avenue. So again, just north of Truman Road on the east side of Forest Avenue on Waldo. A zoning map of the subject site and the surrounding area shows that the area is predominantly characterized by R12 or duplex zoning district classification. Directly abutting the subject site to the south is a retirement home zoned R30 PUD or multifamily housing. The characteristics of the subject site, and I apologize, but it does appear that there is an error on the slide, so there's no picture showing the aerial imagery. The parcel is approximately 16,000 square feet in size. County records indicate the dwelling was constructed in the 70s and encloses approximately 1,400 square feet of living area. The dwelling does share a driveway with the neighboring property to the east. The shared driveway wraps around to the rear of the duplex, and the garage is available to guests. Here's a picture of the front facade of the duplex. It's characterized by a hipped roof and features brick siding, a brick facade. Street level imagery of the surrounding neighborhood looking eastbound down Waldo Avenue and westbound towards Forest. And unfortunately, that floor plan is not populating on the screen. It is a part of your packets. There are 2 bedrooms in the main level for guests to occupy. A floor plan of the basement does show the garage available for guest access and no other dwelling or common areas available for guests. Parking plan of the subject site shows a shared driveway between the duplex to the east. And the nearest short-term rental is greater than 1,000 feet away, so the site does not meet the city's density limitations for short-term rentals. Staff does recommend approval of the short-term rental with the standard conditions. In this case, the premises shall be limited to 4 persons, the occupancy, and the maximum number of bedrooms shall be 2. That concludes the presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for staff member? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the applicant up. And sir, were you sworn in?
No.
Okay. And you can go ahead and raise that mic up to the top shelf there. There you go. We'll be able to hear you a little more. Just raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, to the best of your ability tonight to this commission? If so, say, I do.
I do.
All right, and state your name and your address.
My name's Eric Benz. I live on the other side of the state line, 12114 West 72nd Terrace in Shawnee, Kansas.
What do you want us to know about this duplex and turning a site into a short-term rental?
Sure. It's currently a long-term rental. It's my only rental that I own and manage. We try to be very fair to the renters. Like, don't charge any extra fees. It's just rent. We take care of the renters as well. I think a lot of that comes from us being small. Yeah, I would like to change it into a short-term rental.
All right, so will one side be a long-term rental and then the other side's a short-term rental?
That's our current plan, yes.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, any questions for our applicant? All right, seeing none, we'll call you back up if we need to. Thank you. All right, is there anyone present who would like to speak in opposition of this case? Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? All right, seeing none, anyone who'd like to speak in favor of this case? Anyone to speak in favor? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. All right, final comments for staff, questions?
Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
I make a motion we approve case 26-400-07, short-term rental, 1425 West Waldo Avenue.
All right, I have a first
Second?
and a second from Commissioner Torres. All right, I will call for the vote.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ashbaugh,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Torres,
Yes.
Chair Wiley.
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0 for case number 26-400-07, short-term rental at 1425 West Waldo Avenue. All right, congratulations, and thank you very much. Staff, thank you so much for all your comments and work tonight. I greatly appreciate it. All right, Rick, anything good for the order since we have some big nights coming up?
So you did get a copy of the CIP packet. That'll be for the March 10th meeting. That's what we're planning and anticipating. It'll be here in this location. That is expected to be our last location here. We do have, I believe, was it 5 or 6 short-term rental cases that night? We don't know how quickly those will go, but we'll obviously have representatives from each department here to talk about their projects. So hopefully those will go through quickly and we can get to the CIP conversation. So it might be a little bit of a longer night, just FYI.
All right, Thank you for the heads up on that. And Commissioner Ashford, you had a question?
Yes, I do. Hopefully it's an easy question, Rick. Do we have any companies working in Independence right now or seeking to come in Independence right now that are build to rent home builders?
Build to rent home
Build to
builders?
rent. They come in and build new homes, but they're all to rent. They're not for...
I mean, I can't necessarily say specifically on each project. I mean, it isn't uncommon that we have developers that will build like a duplex development that they intend to rent out, fourplex or multiplex developments that they intend to build out. I guess that fits your definition of a build to rent. They don't necessarily label themselves that way, but
Most of them build to rent. They build single-family type homes. They look that way in every respect, but they're all for rent. They're not for
I'm not familiar of any here. I mean, I know the ones that we are building here for single-family residential, I think they're intended to be owner-occupied.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that sometimes a developer who's also a builder could potentially rent one of those homes.
Well, it's kind of like everything else in this industry. Everything starts out east and comes our way.
Yep.
So I didn't know if we had any guardrails or anything.
Typically, it's only going to be, if we end up getting a new plat or a new subdivision, those are the types of questions we would ask when they submit that. I don't think there's any of the existing developments that we have going or any of the existing developments that we've approved that hasn't been the intent for any of the single-family home subdivisions. But I can say we do have some developments that are actually being developed by the developer who's also building the houses. And does that mean that they can rent some of those? Yes, but that wasn't the intent, and I don't think that was ever before us as a PUD for just building single-family homes to rent. So.
Right. So, they're usually sold as single-family homes. And then as you go down the road, sometimes they need to sell and they rent them out. But a lot of times if the neighbors, depending on how cohesive the neighborhood is, sometimes they find out, they get very upset. And then there's really nothing they can do. But these developments are just for that purpose. So it's like a corporation is building a bunch of rental units.
I'm familiar with the practice, not here, not at Independence, of developers taking single-family developments that are basically being sold to entities for rent. I'm familiar with that process, but none of the ones that I know of that were approved here in Independence, or from my knowledge, their intentions are not to do that.
Well, that's fine. I'm looking down the road a little ways because I'm sure that sometime, especially if they're from the east, our land is relatively cheap. And that looks like dollar signs to them. And I just don't know that that's a good good option to do. It might be on a limited basis. I don't want to see someone come in and build 500 homes in a subdivision and they're all for rent. And there's no organization, there's no homeowners association, there's nothing, there's no, it's like the Wild West. Everybody all of a sudden is renting and the place is run down in 10 years, that kind of scenario. So that's why I was asking if there's anything that people are talking about or planning on or looking into or not. Or you got so much trouble right now,
Yeah, I mean, I have
don't have
not,
the time.
none of us have been, in discussions with anybody who's planning to do anything like that. In terms of, some guardrails, let's say, for example, somebody does choose to do that. I don't know of a mechanism other than when this development becomes new or during construction. I mean, we would notice that with a building permit.
Well, you know
But
what happens all the time is like the used car lots. They just keep coming, all of a sudden say, well, we got to do something about this, but we should have done something before it even started.
Yeah, Rick, where he's getting at is, can we get something out there on the books in the PUD so that we cannot manage a rental, something like that? Because that probably is true coming down the line.
I mean, we can certainly look into that. I mean, there's nothing particular in the code for something like that other than the PUD process. Because if you don't have a PUD, if you're meeting the code per se for a development, if it's zoned for single family R6 residential and they submit construction plans to build that development, then there's no PUD actions that we can put conditions on. So,
Well, how about a zoning for single-family rentals? Would that be?
yeah, I mean, we can certainly look into those types of things and maybe see what other communities have done to try to stave off that type of behavior.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Maybe if you know some guys in St. Louis, ask them if they're,
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
No, I agree.
From what I've read, this type of building has been increasing a minimum of 15 to 20% every year.
Okay.
More than what it was last year. So I'd like us to kind of be ahead of the game.
The way I see it, it's probably something like the communities that we've already approved for older people. They're almost like single-family rooms, but it's all rental, wasn't it? Or were they selling those?
Yeah, typically those, like what you're talking about with the, I won't name names, but yeah, for the particular senior developments, those are intended for rent, yes.
Right, and that's what he's getting at, but that's what I'm saying. We need to have something on the books so that we control those when it comes down the line.
Understand those, though, I think we're all, yeah, I think those are all pretty much PUD. Those are all the R18s are PUD developments, so that you could potentially put conditions on some of those.
Yeah, because like sometimes there's subdivisions that start and then there's holes and there's infill that wants to come in, and if something came in like that, that could, that could be a bad situation. And I don't know, I'm not saying don't build any, but there has to be some type of conditions they have to meet.
Long term.
Yeah, seems like, for example, a lot of these apartments and rental places are built like right abutting C2, and then it starts to go into single-family homes. But this one could go right into single-family homes without, right in the middle of something. So, I'm sorry, I don't want to drag it out.
No, you're fine.
I wanted to know.
Good discussion.
I think, would you?
I mean, we can certainly do some research in regards to those types of developments. Yeah, we can certainly give you something about that type of development. Like I said, right now, R6 is not a PUD zoning unless somebody's doing something that does cause it to be a PUD, in which case you can put those conditions in. But really, I think for this point, per our code, that would have to be something this body and the council would have to take into consideration if somebody's looking to rezone a piece of property to R6, what's your intentions for it? I mean, because R6 is single family. If they don't meet the contextual code, then it would have to be a PUD, and then the PUD process could allow conditions on those types of things. And that's where you could either recommend or not recommend that project moving forward. I don't know how you could prevent somebody, for example, going into any subdivision and buying 20 houses on a street at this point and then renting those out. I mean, you would still have a rental-ready program. We would still be doing those inspections and licensing for those. But I don't know if there's a mechanism to prevent somebody from being able to do that now.
Well, maybe you don't prevent, but there's got to be some way to regulate it, I would think. There's got to be some kind of discussion.
Yeah, like I said, we can certainly look into that, and
Okay.
For further discussion.
yeah.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Any additional questions or discussion for staff? All righty, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:10 p.m.